Let's talk about the other side of your life and career, which is inventions.
Yeah.
This is something that I still can't believe when I was reading all about your harp that you invented. They got lots of awards. How did the whole harp project start? It's quite a random thing to design, I would have to say.
Yeah, it's a niche of a niche.
Yes.
It doesn't make any business sense
Okay.
originally, but it was more like I just felt that instrument needed to be there,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's there. It's kind of created its own market, which is interesting. So sometimes business design doesn't make sense. Sometimes you just have to follow a passion, and then suddenly you create something.
That process of from being an inventor then to working in various agencies and then ending up in EY-Seren, did you see a difference in the process from how you worked as an inventor, trying to do something for yourself, compared to other companies here in London and compared to what you do right now?
Yeah, so the companies I worked at in London before, it varies a lot, so it's hard to kind of generalize, but typically it's very business driven and having to jump to conclusions very quickly, which is fine as well. Like in an academic environment you can go on forever, and in the commercial environment you have to be quick and kind of make some assumptions. But it's good to be somewhere in between, where you're quick but you also do proper research and you don't cut corners. And in some of the agencies where I worked, it was definitely felt like, well, we're not really asking the real questions here. We're just responding to a client brief, and giving them what they want, rather than understanding whether it is what they need and what their end consumers and all the stakeholders in between, what they really need and what the best solution is.
How do you even make it a process in a company when it's, as you say, it's based on the intuition? I think that's the worst answer to any business.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So that makes scoping projects sometimes really hard, because for a client, so they always want to say, okay, but when are you going to have your brilliant insights?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we first need to go and understand. So there's always a bit of give and take, and kind of our sales team and our practitioners teams are always kind of trying to find a balance between those two things, where we make sure that there is some degree of freedom within the scope. And because especially some service design tools at the moment are kind of sold as end deliverables, like we're going to develop 6 personas and 5 journeys, like as if that's what they really need. But that's what is that's at the moment a tangible, acknowledged artifact that clients know about, have heard about. Is, oh yeah, we need some journey maps, so let's get some design agency to do some journey mapping and some design thinking to get there.
Yeah.
So that you need to kind of use those buzzwords, I guess, and those named methodologies to give them the confidence. And you can show a lot of case studies in which we've delivered some amazing outcomes rather than deliver like intermediate deliverables or tools. So we've completely turned around the business, or we've made their consumers or the end users twice as happy and therefore spend more and stay longer, or made people much healthier if it's a healthcare project.
Do you have someone from the client side always in your office? Do you try to have a meeting once a week? What's the structure of this relationship?
Yes, so depending on the client, of course, but in general we use we set up shared project spaces with shared digital boards. If it's a remote client, for instance, that we do a project for a big client in Belgium, so we travel back and forth a lot, so we make sure there's always presence in their office. So we have a war room set up in their office, but you can't always be there, so then we have these kind of virtual creative spaces. And then there's cloud sharing stuff, and we use Slack to set up direct communication, kind of offline stuff. And then we have daily stand-ups every day, so there's always like 10 minutes a day in which there's this contact moment for anyone at client side that wants to join in and hear what the latest is. And then we usually at the end of the week we send out some kind of newsletter of all the stuff that has happened in the week. So
it's really great. I love how you try to make sure that the client understand what you're doing, that you kind of share all these tools and spaces, you're very open, and I think that's, I suppose, the main secret of any innovation. They need to be very open,
exactly.
And you don't hide your own secrets.
And because service design particularly always involves the organization, and they always in a way need to go and change themselves after a project is completed, because the findings are never going to be, instead of a square product, you're going to make a triangular product. You know, it's very much where you need to change your internal process and the way you communicate between yourselves and organize yourselves. And you might even one of the person's jobs in the team might have to disappear or move or retrain or become something else, or so it's quite personal. It can be quite personal, and it's definitely sensitive. So you have to therefore do this kind of this whole onboarding and making sure that they become the change that they want them to happen.
Well, thanks a lot, Joris. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys, for watching us. Joris will be one of our speakers during Design Thinking and Innovation Week in September. So if you're coming, you'll see Joris in person and ask him more Harp questions. If you want to hear a full conversation with Joris, then come to our podcast, Creative Capes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Thank you. Bye.